Hey Celine, this is just a few notes to help you with the next few sections of math. So the first one involves simplifying fractions. Now the easy thing you can do is what you did before, is just find the prime factorization of each number. So for example, 18 would be, if you broke that down, it would be 2 times 3 times 3. And 30, break that down and put the remaining numbers down below, would be 2 times 3 times 5. So here we are, and now what we're going to do is we're going to cancel the ones that they have in common. So we notice the 2 and the 2 on top and bottom, we sort of like slash it out. I tell the kids at my school it's like a ninja. You slice them out there, and then you see these 3's also have in common, and you slice that out. And then you see what's left is 3 over 5. And that's the simplified version. So 3/5 is the same thing as 18/30. And that's how you get to the simplified fraction there. And that should be section 1.3, all of those. For section 1.4, I believe it involves simplifying rates. And you're just going to do the exact same thing. You're going to look at the number, and you're going to take the prime factorization. So keep on breaking down 75, and then you end up with 3 times 5 times 5. If we do the same thing with 12, you get 2 times 2 times 3. Now, the one thing with the rate is that we want to make sure the units are there. So we can put the feet up here, and we can put the minutes down here. Again, is there any numbers that they have in common? The 2's are in common, but they're not on both sides, on the top and the bottom. So we're not going to cross those out. Same thing with the 5's. But if you notice here, there's a 3 up top and a 3 below. So those sort of like cancel each other out. And then you end up with this. So here, since there are more than one number on each side, you're just going to put them back together. So 5 times 5 is actually going to be 25. Let's bring it down here. So it's going to be 25 feet there. And then on the bottom, 2 times 2 is going to be 4. So again, this is just saying that 75 feet, if you go 75 feet in 12 minutes, that's the same thing as going 25 feet in 4 minutes. So again, you do the same idea. You do the prime factorization, and then you cancel out any common factors. And that should all be section 1.4. Now for section 1.5, when you involve multiplying fractions, it might look a little different, but it's more or less the same thing. So notice we have 2 numbers on top, and so the 2 we can just put here, and we can actually say this is, well, what is it? 2 times 4, right? But if we think about it, what if we break down 4? 4 is just 2 times 2, so that's just going to be 2 times 2. And down here in bottom, what do we have? We have a 3 times a 5, and we can just write that there. And so now we say, is there anything that they have in common? And like before, that we can cancel out? The answer here is no. So we just put it back together. 2 times 2 times 2 for the numerator is 8, and on the bottom it's going to be 3 times 5, which is 15. So we really can't simplify. And that's how we multiplied. 2 times 4 is 8. For the numerator, 3 times 5 is 15 on the denominator. So the answer would be 8/15. Now here, on the next problem, 2/5 times 15/8. We'll do the same thing. We say 2 on top, and we have a 15, and we can even break that down. So 15 is the same thing as 3 times 5. And then on the bottom, we have a 5 times 8. And again, 8 is just 2 times 2 times 2. Before we put them all together, like we did in the previous sections, we're going to see they have something in common. So here, there's a 2 on the top and the 2 on the bottom. So those will cancel out. Notice they just cancel out 1. This 2 doesn't cancel out more than 1 2's. Now same thing with the 5's. The 5 down below cancels the 5 above. And what do we have left? Well, on the top, there's only a 3. And on the bottom, there's a 2 times 2, which is a 4. So we realize that 2/5 times 15/8 actually gets us to 3/4. Oh, it's actually on the camera now. Okay, so just one or two more things here. Now suppose we have a mixed number and we're a whole number. So the idea is we want to convert this to an improper fraction. So that basically we want it in the form of something over something times something over something. So this 4 times 1 plus 3 is our trick to find the numerator. So 1 3/4 is the same as 4 times 1, which is 4, plus 3, which is 7, and the 4 stays the same, 7/4. So again, the 7 is 4 times 1 plus 3, and then the 4 seems the same. So 1 3/4 is the exact same thing as 7/4. Now 6, how do we say this? Is 6 wholes, and we can write that as 6 over 1. So now we have our multiplication ready to go. And before we multiply, we can sort of break it down. So this is 7 times 6. And again, 6 is 2 times 3. And down here below, we have 4, which is 2 times 2 times 1. And the 1, just you can put it there, but it doesn't really do anything. Again, before we combine everything on top and bottom, we realize they both have a 2. So we'll just cancel both of those 2's out. And what's left? We have 7 times 3, which is 21, over 2 times 1, which is 2. So you can write it like this. However, we probably want to convert it to a mixed number. So we'd say, how many times does 2 go into 21? 2 goes into 20, well, 1 time. And then we subtract. And then how many times does 2 go into 1? It doesn't. And then the remainder would just be 1, which means that this 21 halves is the same thing as 10 and 1 half. And that would be your answer. Really crazy answer, but there it is. Hopefully that helps, and I'll talk to you later.